here. I think I'll start with my horizon. I usually prefer to find my horizon line so I know exactly where everything else has to fit. This is Alizarin Crimson, and I'm using Liquitex acrylic paints because first of all, I like the tops. They're easy to open and the paints are good quality. And I hold my brush like this instead of like a pencil, because that's finger action. I hold it from above and pretty near the back so that I can pivot and hold it almost parallel to the canvas. And then I make my lines a little thicker than normal because I want to be able to dig into the paint and not obliterate the line, but make it a little bumpy so it's not just a smooth, kind of commercial art looking line. Normally I paint them on the sides, but for this little video attempt, I'm going to just do this. Now I may have to make this video in pieces because I don't want it to get too long. So I'll just kind of do some of this. This would be the drawing part. And then I would go up here and draw my clouds. I normally don't have my palette up in the air. It's normally on a flat surface on a tabletop or a cabaret top. But I was trying to think of some way that you could see the color mixing, because I'll be mixing colors in a few minutes. I really didn't leave enough room up here for the cloud, so I either have to correct it and move it down, or I'll see if it works if I just leave it. Sometimes I don't always put everything that's in my drawing because I can get more detailed with the drawing with a marker or a pencil. So I'll just cut that off there. That'll be fine. All right, now let's just say that's dry. Well, while that's drying a little more, I'll do something down here. Helps to have drawing skills. If you're new at painting and you want to make it a little easier on yourself, take some drawing classes. I used to teach tons of drawing classes. Now I just mostly teach painting workshops. I want people to have fun. And I teach how to abstract the landscape because that's what I've done here. And then the little buildings, I'm going to move them a little bit to put them in the range where you can see them better. They might not have been exactly like this, but this is where I'm going to put them. And then this one's going to have some of these little trees, little pointy things, and maybe some kind of bush in front of it. Well, I can tell I'm not doing as well while I'm talking and trying to do this video. Okay, so the whole thing would be drawn out like that. So that would be how I would start. Now I'm going to turn this video off and see if this works. Okay, here's the second part of the video. I've got everything drawn in pretty good now. I know there's a glare and you can't see it great, but I'm going to do my best. And I'm going to start out with this permanent light blue. I put two piles of white. One for the cool side. These are all cool colors. One for the warm side. These are warm colors. And I have them gradated, getting darker and darker as they go up. And these go more from the blues toward the greens. This one's starting to slide a little. I had a little landslide here. So I start out, I just mix a little white. And again, I'm going to hold my brush sideways. If I want a skinny mark, I turn it with the flat part. If I want a fat mark, I go this way. So for my sky, I could have gone to a smaller brush. But instead of doing that, I'm just going to show you how I can paint this whole painting with this one brush. I think it's a number 6. This is my favorite paintbrush. It's Ruby Satin, and this brand is Silver Ruby Satin. It's a green handle, kind of a silver here. So they have some with gold. And I do these little squares. Really not squares. They're rectangles, and they're not pointillism. Everybody thinks it's pointillism, but pointillism would be more like little dots. And I try to let the the yellow ochre is the color I put on the background because I want a warm color to show through. I don't want the white canvas showing through because it's too disruptive and it's harder to cover up. Now here's where I'm going to show you how I dig into my lines. See this thick line I made? I'm going to go a little bit into it, but not completely covered up. And sometimes when you hold the brush this way, remember I said you could pivot it, I can go this way. So it's almost parallel to the canvas, not quite. And if these red lines are still a little wet, it'll be a problem because it'll get into the paint. So I'm just going to do a little section at a time. Then I might take this color with no white in it, and I can intersperse it and occasionally let it overlap. But I don't want to overlap to the point that I lose all of my yellow ochre because I want that warm color showing through. So I go like that, and I'll continue and continue until I have just the amount of yellow ochre showing through that I want. And I could go into this ultramarine blue and add a little bit, maybe a little more white. I like to do the lighter color at the bottom near the horizon and a little darker as I go up. So as I go up here, and you see I can dig into that line a little. So when I do the cloud, I'll dig in from the other side. Or when I do the mountain, I'll dig in from this side. So it'll look more natural. It won't look quite so contrived. And I'm trying to keep my colors bright, but not so bright they're gaudy. So you have to learn a lot of color mixing, which might get into a little bit in this film, might not, I'm not sure. Okay, so let's pretend like I've done enough of that. And I would normally do it all over the canvas, and maybe up here at the top, I might even go a little deeper in my colors above the clouds. See, I can get really bright. See that? If I wanted, I could even add a touch of purple into that. That's dioxazine purple. This is ultramarine blue. So now it's a little more purpley blue. So I change it around. I get bored if it's always the identical same. And people tend to like my skies with a little square. Sometimes I get tired of doing them and want to do something else, but then everybody likes them and makes people happy. And I like my paintings to make the world a better place. So let's put some more white in that. Not sure we can get away with this sort of purpley color down here. It might be, it works pretty good. I try to change it a little each time, just to make it more fun for me and the client. And here goes some more. So I often just paint what I like, take it to the gallery. Bonner David Gallery is the gallery I use in Scottsdale. Been with them for, I think they've been open 18 years now. They're wonderful. We've become friends and in business together, so that's a nice combination. They're delightful. If you haven't been to Bonner David, go down to Bonner David in Scottsdale if you live here, and if not, when you visit, go see them. But you can see that's what I call a cooler blue. This is a warmer blue. It's more in the turquoise area. Now, let's just say you wanted a turquoise. Well, you can take this phthalo green, put a little bit of this blue in it, or a lot, depending on how greenish you want your turquoise. You want more greenish. You know, turquoise comes in all kind of different, even turquoise jewelry, you can get more greenish and more bluish. Let's see what that does. Oh, that could be kind of fun, just to have another color coming in. Or I could lighten it. I usually mix my colors pretty good on the palette. Sometimes when I used to do oil painting, I used to teach oil painting a lot. And these are just now teach acrylic. Some of it had to do with my health. Breathing the oil paints was bothering me. So I went more and more to the acrylics. Well, they're not totally safe, but I like the fact that they dry. At first I didn't like them. I didn't know what to do with them. I was so used to oils. So if you switch mediums or you try something new, just know It always feels awkward at first, but the more you do it, the more you learn, the better it gets. And ask from people that know how to do it in a way that you enjoy, and take lessons from them. If you don't like their paintings, don't take a class from them, because that's what they'll teach. And look for somebody that understands teaching principles. Okay, so now I'm going to rinse my brush off. This is just water. Water for acrylics. Now you can see this is starting to slide again. I don't want it to slide on the floor. Get a new paper towel here. I like to use Viva. These are Viva towels because they are very absorbent, thick, almost like a cloth. So I'm hoping my back's not in your way while I'm doing this. I'm trying. Just to show you some, well, let's go into my cloud. I'll just take white, maybe a little bit of yellow. And I'm going to just put some of that. Now, if I want the acrylics to blend it all, you have to do everything while it's wet. So I can't go and do them all like this because it'll be dry by the time I come back over here. So I'm just going to show you while it's wet. And again, I'm digging into the red line so it won't be quite so harsh. I want it to look like a broken line when I get through. Too long to tell you why, but there's a reason I started doing that. Okay, so let's go up here. Another way I might put the white first. And if you notice some of the famous Western artists like Maynard Dixon, something like that, maybe I use the yellow ochre for the yellow instead of the bright yellow, just so you could see the difference. I noticed one time that a lot of Maynard Dixon's clouds have no white in them. They're just lots of cream colors and like this yellow ochre color with white instead of pure white. And I've done both. Sometimes I put the pure white in, sometimes I don't. I could even, let's just say you wanted to be a little more colorful. I could even come in with some pink. See? And I'm putting it like at the bottom edge of each section, so there's kind of a consistency, thinking about where the light's coming from. If it's coming from this side, or this side, that can affect where you put a little color. Let me go back to my white, a little pure white. Now because I'm holding it, my brush this sideways, I can make nice thick marks right out of white. So I want some more white up here. I'll have to get more white out. Well, that's a good time to stop for a minute. So that's the second part of the video. Okay, for the third part of the video. Well, I thought I would show you how I get a clean palette. Not sure you can see that. Maybe you can. Also, it's during the coronavirus. I didn't think you would be able to see me, so I apologize. I normally would have on makeup and better clothes, but with us being isolated with the coronavirus, I have not fixed my hair. But I guess that's part of this coronavirus time, that we're not fixing up and doing what we normally do. This is a disposable palette. I like this particular one called New Wave. It's gray because it's neutral and it makes it easier to tell how your colors have mixed. So see what I did? I accidentally tore it there. It's attached on 1, 2, 3 sides. This side is open. And I can tear off, and now I have a total clean mixing space, which I think is great. I like disposable palettes. Some teachers won't even allow you to use one. So I realized in that last video my back was in it a lot, so I'm hoping I can do better. It's hard to reach that in this, but I wanted you to see how I mix the colors. Okay, so let's get some pure white. Get a little pizzazz. I like it really thick when I do this last part. I one time took a cake decorating course, and if you've ever taken a class from me, you've heard me say this. I'm just kind of hitting the highlights, getting rid of a little more of that red line. And I go in different directions. I don't just go one way, and I don't smooth it, and I don't blend it. I'm trying to use the flat side of my brush, not the point. I don't point toward it. It's the flat side. So I need some down in here. And you don't want all your strokes going the same way. I make them go different directions by turning my hand the way I was showing you that I can do it. Okay, so that's kind of a start on that. There'd be more to it in the long run. But let's go into the, I always keep a rag in my left hand. Let's see if I can keep my back out of it a little better this time. I'm not sure if my brush is long enough to reach without my back getting in there. All right, so let's say I want to alternate cool, warm, cool, warm, cool, warm colors. So I've kind of got warms here, cools here, but everywhere I've got the warm yellow ochre showing through. So let's go, what color could we do here? Let's go to a pale purple. But now look at that dioxazine purple. I don't know if it's coming across the video. That's pretty bright. See? I wanted a little more subtle, so I'm going to put a tiniest bit, a little much, of cadmium orange. And I don't know that all oranges will work, but I know the cadmium orange. And it tones it down just a bit, and it makes it a little more subtle color. I don't know if you can see the difference in those two colors. Not just that it's lighter. It's actually a little different color. Basically what you're doing is putting a little bit of a complement in a color, which is the opposite on the color wheel. I keep saying I'm going to write a book on my color theory. I kind of have my own little way of doing it. It's just strictly based on the three primary colors. You don't have to have the color wheel then. You can just figure it out. I don't know if you know what does it make. See if you can figure it out. What does it make if you mix all three primary colors? Red, yellow, blue. Give you a minute to think. I don't know while you're thinking about what color does it make if you mix all three. I'm going to change this purple just a hint. This is a beautiful color called quinacridone magenta. Let's see if I can get back enough that you can see my brush. See, it's just different. Now I've got to dig into that line in different directions. I want a little bit of it to show, but not too much. I don't want it to look like a coloring book, because it kind of looks like a coloring book here. I always thought I would want to make and design coloring books. Okay, so this is going to be this layer. So this could come back into this layer as if it's part of this behind this section. So they could be the same color. But I don't want to get too far over here because then I'm afraid you can't see it. So I'm going to go back to the purple, a little of the orange in it. Got to get back to the original color. If I put too much orange, because orange is made up of red and yellow, it will get closer to that color that I was trying to get you to guess what would happen if you mix all three. So it's brown. So if you were to make a brownish color, so this is a more brownish purple than what just the pure dioxazine purple, has a little more brownish tone to it. It's because I put orange. What does orange have in it? Yellow and red. So it's two of the other primary colors, and then purple has red and blue. So I'm still adding in some of those primary colors. And by doing the third primary color in whatever color you're mixing, it automatically will make it more brownish. Dull it down just a hint. You can also do that by just saying get your complement off your color wheel, which is the opposite color on the color wheel. I just want each of these layers to be a little different. They could be more bluish, more purplish, more pinkish, more whatever. But you just want them to be different. You can use your lights and darks to make a difference. You can do color change to make a difference. But I don't want just pure bright color. It gets pretty gaudy. Let's take this phthalo green, which is, as you can see when I just do it with the white, see how bright? Sometimes I want that in some places, but I don't want it in the back. It'll make it come forward too much. The brighter colors and the warmer colors especially will come forward. The cool colors will usually recede. So that is kind of a cool color. So it might recede enough to use it. So see, I could come in here and begin to do layers here, but I don't want them to look identical. So maybe I could just add the hint of blue to one of them so it's just a little different than the other one. So they're not identical. I'll go back up to this part. You can even add, I mean, very slight touch of yellow ochre. Just the slightest bit will change the color. I like pure color. I like it not to be all muddy mixed together. So you have to, the sayings that I have are clean brush, clean palette, clean water, clean rag. And that's how you get your pure color. And you notice they don't touch each other on here. They're also not at the edge where they'll fall off. So you have to keep them kind of pure, even though I'm not always cleaning my brush. So I'll just keep changing it just a hint. And if I wipe it on my rag first, before I put it in my water, you don't have to change the water as often. I always have a trash can nearby, paper towels. I scrub way down on the bottom because that's what will help clean it off. And then when I'm doing this, I really get it all the way down. This is called the ferrule. Get it down to the ferrule where you clean it. That's why I bend it on the bottom of the can. I like a nice wide can that isn't going to tip or wiggle. I don't have to hold it with my other hand. All right, now let's get into some other colors. Let's take this, which is cadmium red light. I'm going to go over here to my white for the warmer colors. I can do that. You notice I put it on top of another color because maybe that'll be nice. And I can go in here with this color. And again, I'm breaking into that little red line, but I don't want to obliterate. If I obliterate it, and I have to go back in later and try to add in a little bit of that line, it looks added in. It just doesn't look as... What I'm doing is actually painting into the negative. It makes these scoopy little funny lines. And I have a brush, it's called a filbert. It's not flat or straight on the end. It doesn't have corners. Can you see that? See, there you go. It's kind of rounded. That keeps me getting these sort of rounded shapes rather than a square pointy shape. So you see it's starting to take shape. Let's go down here for a minute just to show you. Let's get this cadmium red, just pure cadmium red, medium. And I've got some little rooftops down here. Let's just put it, well, I may change this rooftop color a little bit later, but for now, just so I can tell where my reds are going to be in this picture. Helps me decide what color to put next to it. Now here, I may go a little, I just put a little, this is alizarin, that's what I draw the picture with. I'm going to put it on this part. Although that may not be roof, that may be wall, I can't remember. Okay, no, that's not going to be bright enough. Now I can go in with this cadmium red light, and I could do another roof like that. Or I can take the light and maybe do something on the other side or just across the top of the roof. And you notice again now, I'm holding it this side to side. Sometimes I use the skinny edge, sometimes I use the flat edge. I think I'll make this top part, and sometimes I just do a little edge like that. Let's go back to this red and put a little in this side. Okay. Now the reason I like to get that in is it helps me know what colors I want to put out here. That's a warm. And I like warm and cool to take turns with each other. This is quinacridone green. No, I'm sorry, I said the wrong thing. That's quinacridone magenta. This is chromium green. And I like it because it gets kind of a gray green. When you put it up though, it almost looks bluish depending on what it's next to. Colors will look differently depending on what's next to them. If it's a cool next to it or a warm next to it, it will affect the way the color appears. It could look totally different if it was next to a different color. Now that leaves me room here to put a warm, so I can take turns. See, there's a warm and a cool. Warm, cool. But this is cooler than this. So in here, I'm going to put something on the warm side. Don't really want to go to the yellows, because yellows come forward. I like them for my open spaces. Let's see if this is going to do anything. Now that's a different color than this, which I wanted. And again, I'm using my little round filbert brush. And I'm digging. I know it's hard for you to see this brush. My hand's in the way, but as long as I could figure to do the video. Now down here in these fields, I want some bright colors. It's really not Provence. It's really a scene out here in Arizona, but I can make it look like Provence. So I am going to take this purple, dioxazine purple, and I'm going to add a little ultramarine blue to it. And I'm going to put that in this little field. I'm going to add a touch of white to part of it, so it'll look a little different. I'm going to add a little more blue and another part. See, let's put that one over there. Let's go for a light. Let's add a little bit of the permanent light blue in. We'll make it not quite turquoise, but a little more than just what's there, just to give a little different color. See, it's just kind of nice when you vary the colors. One more to go. Let's put a little more purple back in. Let's put a little more white back in that. And one more section, and I'm trying to make them all a little different. Now, if the red line is too smooth, I just go back in and dig in a little. I don't want it to be too smooth. Like I said, I don't want it to look like a coloring book. Now here's another field. Let's do it with the reds. So let's take that. Some of these cadmium red light, cadmium red medium. I'm going to get it too pinky because my mountains are pretty pink. All right, let's put that one there. Oops, got a little blue left on my brush. Let's do a pure one over here, cadmium red light. Let's do a pure cadmium red medium. Might be too bright, I can always change it later. I usually get two, I like these, have the extra crease, you know, like you can make the short. Then I just fold it, and that's perfect thickness. Now, when you're wiping your rag, if you just keep wiping on the dirty spot, you're going to get a dirty brush. And so I do like this. I close it, pull it, fold it, close it, pull it, fold it, close it, pull it. And you see, every time I've got a clean rag I'm using. And then I pitch it. So it's important to have clean rag, clean brush, clean water. Now I got to get really clean to do the yellow or it'll mess it up. Some of these colors I didn't have to completely clean, but this one I will. And I have to get some white from up here that's not full of other colors yet. It's a little bright. I'm going to add a touch of ochre to that, tone it down just a bit. Let's just say that right in here I'm going to want an open space that will help set off these trees and help set off my little houses. I want them to show up. So this will be a warm, and it's kind of an open space. Now, as I go, if I decide I need a different color, I can always change it because it dries so fast. I mean, I could change it in 10 minutes probably. So, okay, that would be good for an open space there. Now, over here I want a little open space, but I'm going to make it more, if I can keep this from sliding, a little more yellow ochre in that, make it lighter, and I'm about out of white, so I'm going to get some more white out. Whoops, that's awfully close to that other one. Put some more white. Like I said, I don't usually have my palette up in the air, but actually it's kind of nice. I might try painting this way more often. Let's go back to the yellow ochre. Gotta find a clean spot, or I'll have to tear it off and get another clean spot. Let's go a little less yellowy up in here. And again, I'm digging into those lines. Now see how that, it's so light, it's going to set that building off really good too. There's a little bit of it up here. And then it would go here. Not even sure that's showing up in the camera, so I might not go all the way. Okay, so now, here's a little trick I've got. When I do my greens, I want each bush, each tree, each one to feel like there's a certain character so that you can recognize, oh, this bush, and this bush must be the same kind. Oh, this must be a different one because it's got a little different green. So I'm going to take this phthalo green, I'm going to add some Alizarin Crimson, which is a compliment. Look, that looks almost black. If I wanted to add a little white, you can kind of see what color. It's more of a forest green because I put the red in. So I'm going to do these little trees this color. And I don't want this tree to be that color, but maybe this bush could be this kind of color. So that it feels like different ones are going to have different colors in them. And while I've got that, I might put it here. Later I'll have some of the bushes will be more yellow-green. But this is a similar color so far. Now let's add a little yellow to it. And if that's too yellowy, I can add a touch of orange. We'll tone it down and make it more brownish, more like an olive green. So it's not just lighter, it's also a different type of green. Let's put that one and some of these. Now you can kind of see, okay, these bushes are similar, these are different. When I get to this tree, I'll make it lighter and more yellowy. But I'm still going to have it green. Let's get some of that green in there. Still wet so I can use it. I think I put a little too much yellow ochre. Let's go back to that kind of spring green yellow. Okay. Trying to see in my video. Yeah, you can see this. Good. Okay. So this tree I want to be more this kind of green. Now I have to be careful not to obliterate all my red line. Because if I do, I'll have to go back and add it in, and it really won't look as good. Why don't we put this yellow green here? So now that looks different than what we already had up. See, I've got 3 different greens now. Now I think, probably should go to a smaller brush, but let's see if I can get by with this brush. I'm gonna hope that my houses are just barely dry enough that I can add this white that's a cool white by adding a slight bit of blue, purple, something to give it a cool white side. Now, if my sun is, say, coming from this way, my cool side will be over here on the left side of the building. So I'm going to put a couple of cool colors, and maybe even here. Could put it here. Might work, might not. Now we go to a pure white without the blue, just a hint of yellow in it, which I can come back. I want it to be close to white, but not total. That's a line I didn't want, so I'm just going to cover it up. Another thing I was going to tell you, to correct, I didn't show this on the video, but I did a couple lines that were in the wrong place, or I didn't like them. And the way I corrected it, I just took the pure yellow ochre paint and covered it up. I call it my eraser. So you erase the lines just by covering up with whatever background color you've got. Now, you could have different color background colors. You might want a red background color. There's a lady in Charleston, Betty Anglin Smith, who does beautiful marsh scenes, and she uses bright red line and a bright red underpainting. So now in here I'll have to get more subtle. I got to get my changes. Let's go Maybe not so subtle. Let's go bright here. Sometimes bright works and sometimes I want more subtle. Of course, as you can see, I'm not a subtle painter. I really enjoy color. Now I'm going to add a touch of this quinacridone magenta. Oh, it's kind of nice just like that. Put that one in there. Let's take some pure quinacridone magenta. Look at that. Oh, I can't make that color. I really do have to buy that one. Now I'm going to dig from the top down into that line. I don't want them to be harsh. I've got to dig into it a little bit, and then I'll dig from the other side. Okay, that's kind of nice. Whoops. Drop my rag. Now here's a pretty color too. I can take, well actually I meant to do that with a pure. These two together, just the purple, dioxazine purple, and quinacridone magenta, and nothing else in it. Watch what it does. It's a nice, rich, deep, rich color. It's good for shadows and things. Maybe I'll put that in this because that will give me a cool next to my bright red roof. It may have to go lighter to show up the roof. I'm not sure yet. Yeah, it probably isn't. It's going to be too close to the roof color. So I've got an option here. When they're too close like that, I can lighten the roof and leave the background, or I can lighten the background and leave the roof. So let's see what happens if we take the roof and change it. I'm not sure that'll work, but it's all trial and error. Let's do this. Let's go there. Yeah, see? Now you can see it better. This side you still can't see as good, so let's go add that cadmium red medium. Let's make this part of the roof that color. Now you can really see it. While I'm at it, I might put that on that side so it feels like the sunlight's coming this way. Could do it here. Do it here. Now that one got so messy it doesn't even look like a roof. So we're going to go back and smooth out that line. And you don't have to see all the details. There's no windows. There's nothing perfect in there. Take some of this alizarin. Just put it in there for a little definition. Anyway, that's how they start. And then let's pretend like everything's covered up. When I took a cake decorating class one time, you made the cake, which was boring. Then you made the icing, and you iced it, which was a little less boring, but still kind of boring. Then you got to decorate it. That's the part I like. So here comes the decorating part on my canvas. The yellow ochre and the drawing were baking the cake. Hard work. Got to get your composition right. No matter how good you paint it, if you have a crummy composition, you won't like it. Let's go back, put some of that quinacridone in there. So work on your composition. In my classes, I make everybody get a good composition before they're allowed to start painting. It's not contrasty enough. So let's go, let's just say we did it. I could do little dots and dashes on one side as if the sun's hitting on that side. So this would be the last part. Normally I wouldn't do this until probably most of the painting's finished. Well, I've got that. I might just put it right here. Maybe even here. This is still wet. Ah, it is. It's still wet enough. It's been a rainy morning, so usually in the desert, these paints dry so fast, it makes it really hard. When I lived in Charleston, South Carolina for a while, it was great. The paint stayed wet forever because of all the humidity. But then I'd get frustrated because I would want it to dry faster. I guess we just can't be pleased all the time. Although, it seems like we should try. Let's go back to the green. Oh, we haven't really used a bright, sort of bright emerald green. Look at that. What would happen? I have to go a little lighter. What if we put that in here? Now see, that's, when I go like that, it leaves that smooth line. So I want to dig in. Dig in, dig in. Okay, that's probably enough for this section of the video.